WADR, promoting dialogue.
It's midday in Dakar. Good afternoon, and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on WADR.org. Welcome to Newslink. Here are the top stories. Authorities in Niger disclose colossal material damage and loss of lives in this year's rainy season. Reactions in Nigeria as former Vice President Atiku, Peter Obi, and others condemned the invasion of the Labour Congress building in Abuja. Also in Ghana, reactions are coming in the aftermath of the Minister of Finance apology for the hardship brought on them.
The government was very reckless to the extent that they borrowed up to a point that they don't know how much they had borrowed. That got us to this position. That seems to me like they're doing something to do. So they can't come at this point and say, we are sorry. Sorry that was. So that you mess up people's lives.
And former CAF President Issa Hayatou has died at 77 in France after a brief illness. Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
Here is Abdullahi Hassan with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining us and a warm welcome to our listeners in Gambia, Ghana, Liberia, and Sierra Leone. Let's begin in the Sahel, precisely in Niger, where at least 94 flood-related deaths have been recorded so far in several regions of the country, while thousands more were affected. The authorities also reported huge material damage. At a press briefing on Thursday, the Minister of Humanitarian Action and Disaster Management informs that the measures are being taken by the authorities to shelter populations. Augustine Coley has the rest of the story.
The assessment of the flood situation in Niger as of August 7 shows that all 8 regions of the country have been impacted by the floods and have affected 672 neighborhoods and villages in 129 commutes spread across 46 departments with a total loss of 94 human lives. Here is Aissata Lawan, Minister of Humanitarian Action and Disaster Management of Niger.
Unfortunately, we have recorded 14.14% loss in human lives, with 44 deaths nationwide and 50 due to house collapses. Overall, we have 117,150 affected individuals, which constitutes approximately 17,632 households. Around 14,444 houses have collapsed. Additionally, 502 huts have been damaged. We have lost 15,412 tons of livestock and 2,773 hectares of flooded agricultural land.
As a response to the floods throughout the country, at the level of the ministry in charge of the issue, a humanitarian response team composed of experts from various fields has been set up to provide assistance to the victims, according to Aissata Lawan.
As of today, distribution actions are ongoing in the regions, and significant stocks of food and shelter supplies are on their way. In addition to the available provisions, the government is already taking the necessary steps to ensure that all individuals affected by the disasters receive assistance and the needed support.
Every year, during the month of August, floods in Niger cause enormous material damages to the population, with some even losing their lives.
A report by our Niamey correspondent Murtala Zuberu and voiced by Augustine Coley. Still in the Sahel, following Mali's decision to end diplomatic relations with Ukraine, Sweden has also ended its development aid to the country, which amounts to several millions of US dollars. Swedish authorities expressed their displeasure with Bamako's announcement to end diplomatic relations with Ukraine, accusing Kyiv of supporting northern separatist groups in clashes against the Malian army in late July. The Swedish Minister of International Cooperation made an announcement stating that it will take effect by the end of 2024. Sweden has supported Mali in several development projects amounting to $190 million for the period 2021 to 2025. It is worth noting that Sweden has already closed its embassy in Bamako due to the deteriorating security situation in the country. Over to Nigeria, the Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Atiku Badugu, has indicated the commitment of the Bola Tinubu administration towards ending poverty in the country. At the Action Aid Country Strategy Paper presentation, which is in its 5th edition, Action Aid engaged citizens in a bid to eliminate poverty and social justice. According to Jumai Omar Ajiolola, chairperson of the Action Aid Nigeria Board of Directors, this strategy incorporates lessons from over 2 decades of development work in Nigeria. Addressing the subject of how President Tinubu and his government have been tackling the subject, especially in the face of the nationwide protest against bad governance, Badugu admitted that the country is not where it is supposed to be.
Poverty, regrettably, is still a major feature of our society. So, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu conclude that we are not where we want to be. And this came about not as a result of any one person's effort, but cumulative decades of underinvestment. And we have to do something about it. And in doing something about it, everyone matters.
Atiku Bagudu is Nigeria's Minister of Budget and Economic Planning. Still in Nigeria, notable personalities have condemned the invasion of the headquarters of the Nigerian Labour Congress (NLC) by some security agents late Wednesday night. Among them are former Vice President Atiku Abubakar and Peter Obi, presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 general elections. Although operatives of the Department of State Services (DSS) are said to have carried out the attack, but the secret police was quick to deny its involvement. But speaking through his media advisor, Paul Ibe, Atiku said such clandestine raids on civil liberties had no place in a democracy. Also speaking through his media aide, Dr. Yunusa Tanko, Peter Obi described the invasion as an unholy act. Amnesty International, the International Trade Union Confederation, ITUC, lawyers and civil society organizations have also condemned the act. Individual bondholders in Ghana have dismissed the apology rendered by the country's finance minister for the hardship brought upon them by the Domestic Debt Exchange Program, DDEP. Ghana's Minister of Finance, Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam, attributed the hardship being experienced in the country to the DDEP and apologized to Ghanaians for the discomfort they experienced as a result. From Accra, WADR's Nadiri Tete reports.
Ghana's Finance Minister Dr. Amin Adam, at a town hall meeting in Accra on Tuesday, said it was never the intention of any government to impose hardships on its people following the decision to restructure the country's debts, including the domestic ones. He subsequently apologized for the hardship brought on by the debt restructuring, describing it as a necessity.
It was a very important decision at the time that if we avoided it, our economy will not recover such as it has recovered today. And this is why I want to appeal to you to forgive us.
Members of the Individual Bondholders Forum have outrightly rejected the apology, arguing that it's of no significance, especially when the harm has already been done. Yao Osubrefo is a convener of the Ghana Individual Bondholders Forum.
It comes too late. For people who have lost family because of that debt exchange, what did they do with this apology? Government was very reckless to the extent that they borrowed after a point that they don't know how much they had borrowed. I got us to this situation. That seems to me like they did something to do. So they can't come at this point and say, we are sorry. Sorry that what? So that you mess up people's lives, so that people lost their lives, so people's education was disrupted. A whole lot of things. To me, it's of no effect. It's of no consequence.
A banking consultant and financial analyst, Dr. Richmond Itiahene, has also downplayed the significance of the finance minister's apology over the impact of the DDEP. He believes is a mere political gimmick.
I don't just accept it because people knew exactly what they were doing and the mess they were causing. So to come and apologize when it was only about 3 days ago when one of your political persons said that we need to apologize, and it means that you were not proactive. You were borrowing. That is why I have expanded that. If you knew exactly what you were doing, there was no need for you to apologize because you have not apologized since 2022. This debt exchange started in 2022 December. Nobody has apologized. Now that it's the election year, people want people to know that we have sinned. No, if you believe in your sin, continue.
A report by WADR's Nadiri Tete. Meanwhile, Ghana's Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia has officially commissioned the Royal Ghana Gold Refinery, which is Ghana's first gold refinery. The plant has the capacity to refine 400 kilograms of raw gold per day, allowing it to process all the gold exported from Ghana over 300 working days annually. The state-of-the-art facility located in the capital Accra is set to enhance the value of gold exported from the country by refining it to 24 karat or 99.9% purity, matching the quality of gold delivery bar LBMA standard. It is also expected to create between 80 to 120 direct jobs and an additional 500 indirect employment opportunities, significantly boosting domestic tax revenue through corporate taxes.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Remember, we are streaming live on wadr.org and on Facebook at WADR English Service. In Côte d'Ivoire, as part of the fight against monkeypox, the Ministry of Water and Forest, through a press release, has banned the possession of live wild animals. The move comes after cases of mpox were recorded in the country. According to the authorities, this is in order to stop the spread of the viral disease. Here is Abidjan correspondent Albin at this report and voiced by Ichiatisu.
The Ministry of Water and Forest indicates in its press release that anybody in possession of a wild animal without authorization has until August 31 to return it to the nearest branch of the ministry. Any person who does not comply with the new measure will be subjected to legal proceedings and could face a prison tenure of 5 to 20 years, plus a fine of 5 to 100 million CFA francs, between $8,000 to $161,000. The Ivorian Minister of Water and Forest, Laurent Chagba, calls on the population to be civic-minded and to collaborate with the authorities to slow down the spread of monkeypox. The authorities added that the keeping of wild animals such as monkeys, chimpanzees, rats, and squirrels can promote the spread of the disease. The ministry also added that it has been raising awareness against the consumption of bushmeat, particularly those of monkeys and rodents, which have been identified as major sources of transmission of the disease. As a reminder, since the start of the monkeypox epidemic on the continent, Côte d'Ivoire has so far recorded 6 cases. Symptoms of monkeypox include fever, headaches, backaches, muscle aches, and rashes.
That was Abidjan correspondent Albin at this report and voiced by Ichi Atusu. More on health, the Continental Health Organization, the Africa CDC, may declare a public health emergency next week over the fast spread of the monkeypox, now reassigned mpox. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention Thursday said it was concerned about a growing mpox outbreak on the continent. Ogebirika has more details in this report.
During an online briefing, John Kasia, head of the Africa CDC, said it will be the first time to issue its highest health alert since the new mandate in 2023. While the declaration of the health emergency is likely next week, Kasia stated that his organization is taking appropriate action and making appropriate decisions. At least 16 out of the 55 countries on the continent have been affected by mpox, according to the Africa CDC. In West Africa, cases have been reported in Nigeria, Liberia, Cote d'Ivoire, and Cameroon in Central Africa. Elsewhere, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Rwanda, Kenya, Burundi, and South Africa have also reported cases. Cumulatively, over 500 people have died from the viral disease and more than 20,000 cases detected across the continent. By declaring a public health emergency on mpox, the Africa CDC will unlock funding to combat the outbreaks, including the procurement of much-needed vaccines, and trigger a coordinated continental response to the virus, according to John Kasia. Formerly known as monkeypox, mpox is an infectious disease caused by a virus transmitted to humans by infected animals, but can also be passed from human to human through close physical contact.
Ogebirika with that report. You are listening to Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Here's a reminder of our top stories. Authorities in Niger disclose colossal material damage and loss of lives in this year's rainy season. Reactions in Nigeria as former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, Peter Obi and others condemned the invasion of the Labour Congress office. Also in Ghana, reactions are coming in the aftermath of the Minister of Finance's apology for the hardships brought upon them. Still ahead in the news, we have the guest interview, and in the sporting world, the continent mourns the death of former CAF President Issa Hayatou. Please stay with us.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Many thanks for staying with us. The World Food Programme (WFP) has provided $1.5 million as assistance to over 26,000 people affected by flooding across Liberia. At a news conference in Monrovia, the nation's capital, the executive director of the Disaster Management Agency, Ansu Dolly, said the European Union has also provided an additional $500,000 as its contribution to assist the flood victims.
The WFP will provide emergency food assistance through cash via mobile money to 5,200 households, constituting 26,000 individuals displaced by the flood in Mosorado, Mayagimi, and Grand Bassa County, respectively. The WFP has mobilized US $1.5 million United States dollars for this purpose. The WFP will leverage data collected by the NDMA on the affected household, along with physical verification exercise to validate the data and gather additional information needed to provide assistance. The WFP will engage 20 enumerators from the WFP and the NDMA to conduct the exercise, supervised by technical staff from both entities. All logistics and financial arrangements have been completed. The European Union has also committed $500,000 to the Liberian National Red Cross as cash assistance to flood victims. The government of Liberia, through the Ministry of Finance, Development Planning, has also approved the United States dollar $500,000 to procure humanitarian items and pre-positioned items at various hubs across the country for quick response in the case of an emergency.
Ansu Dolly is Liberia's executive director of the Disaster Management Agency. Meanwhile, former Liberian President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf has launched a book on the presidencies of Liberia with a call for citizens to respect their cultural heritage. The book, titled A Compendium of the Presidencies of the Republic of Liberia, was organized by the Liberian Institute for Growing Patriotism and the Angie Brooks International Center for Women's Empowerment, Leadership, Development, International Peace and Security. From Monrovia, Danton Popper reports.
The book provides an overview of pre-Republic period, offering synopsis of the legacies, challenges, and contributions of Liberia's past presidents to nation building. In addition, it informs Liberians about their leaders over time, presenting quick facts in an easy-to-read format to enhance understanding. Speaking during the event, former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf encouraged Liberians to recognize the challenges facing the country and take full responsibility.
Much needs to be done to bring it up to the level, to bring it to a place where all Liberians can appreciate their history and culture, to be able to bring ourselves to the commitment of being able to see our country for what it is. The good sides, with the challenges, no doubt, but for the things that others do, that we recognize it and we honor them. We point out where we find the faults and where we find the challenges that can be corrected.
In remarks, the head of the Liberian Institute for Growing Patriotism, Olubago Kingakirere, encouraged Liberians to develop and promote law for the country.
Liberians are not patriots today because all we do is destroy each other. We do not recognize the contribution of the past. Yes, there are challenges, but the country didn't come from nowhere. And this was part of the thought process and the motivation for Liberian Institute for Growing Patriotism. We need to grow patriotism, to develop and to give recognition to those who have contributed to the history of this nation. But more than that, we need to groom the new generation.
Remarking on behalf of Liberia, Education Minister Jaso Jala described the launch of the book as a dream come true for the nation and its people, expressing the government's commitment towards the project.
My profound respect and admiration to all the esteemed contributors of this outstanding work. The launch of the President's Compendium is not just a record of but is a vital resource for students and Liberians alike. It enhances the understanding and appreciation of the context, struggles, and legacies of our past. By incorporating this history in our schools, our students will develop a deep sense of appreciation and patriotism.
So far, this is the first time the country has launched a collection from past presidents in a single book, which many Liberians have welcomed. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, I'm Darlington Popper in Monrovia.
Minority rights have been a matter of intense debate ever since Nigeria came into existence, according to students of history. An author, Reverend Father Dr. Samuel Udogu, described the crisis in his book titled Minority Discontent in Nigeria, to be launched in the Gambia later today. The book focuses on the Ogoni minority ethnic group in Rivers State, which forms part of the eastern Niger Delta region. Dr. Dogu explores the Ogboni people's struggle for survival by tracing the problems to British colonial rule and its political effect on the minority groups in Nigeria. In his view, the post-colonial reality of maintaining equality between the majority ethnic groups and underprivileged minorities, such as the Ogoni people, has failed.
Minority discontent in Nigeria since independence. It's actually a book I have written my thesis, my PhD thesis, which is on Ogoni people, where I examine the socio-economic and political inequalities amongst the Ogoni people. But specifically, my thesis looked at the Ogoni resistance, their resistance to socio-economic and political inequalities. I am from a minority ethnic group in Nigeria, and so I'm concerned about minority struggle across the world, but specifically in Nigeria. So I decided, coming from my own personal experience and from the experience of people I have worked with as a Catholic priest on mission, both at home and abroad, I am able to put those words together in order to address these issues that are there in the book. The book Minority Discontent has 5 chapters, just to establish for my readers what really the premise is, because it's not enough for one to get up to say, oh, this is an issue or this is a problem without giving people the background. So my going back to look at pre-colonial Nigeria and post-colonial Nigeria is to establish the fact that colonialism has played a major role in creating these categories I'm talking about in Nigeria and of course in other parts of Africa. That is a major issue now in all countries, especially in Africa.
Reverend Father Dr. Samuel Dogu's book launch will take place in Banjul, the Gambian capital, later today.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Well, in the guest segment, we take you back to Nigeria, where several personalities and civil society organizations have condemned the raid of a building belonging to the National Labour Congress, NLC. The raid, according to reports, was carried out by officers of the Department of State Security Services, DSS, or Nigeria's secret police, which has denied any involvement. As at midday today, the NLC executive had converged for an emergency meeting to decide the next line of action. Sheon Akiyoe, Social Relations Manager at Action Aid Nigeria, has been reacting to this development.
So regarding the raid on Labour House in Abuja, I think this is reflecting badly on the government and the way it has been doing everything to ensure that the end bad governance protest in Nigeria is squashed by all means. Now, if some security agencies go to Labour House, just because Labour House held, the Labour NLC held a press conference condemning the high-handedness of the security agencies against peaceful, lawful protesters, just because they condemned the high-handedness used by the security agencies, and you went ahead thinking that they must have been part of those people sponsoring the protest. I think it reflects badly on the intelligence gathering by this government. And I think some people in government are just bound. They are just fixated on looking for what is not lost. The protest organizers are well known. The people who sponsored, who were protesting, they all made themselves, clear. They have come forward to say they are the ones organizing, and they are the hungry Nigerians, and they are protesting because they are hungry.
The accused security agency has denied any involvement, that is the DSS. How threatening is this to the civic space, given the current socio-economic climate?
I think this is getting beyond ridiculous. This is becoming something else, whereby the civic space in Nigeria, nobody can talk again. So where is the freedom as guaranteed in Section 39, Section 40 of the 1999 Constitution as amended? Where is the freedom? Why are we getting to a certain space, a certain level in this country where civic space will not be, it's not shrinking, it is going to disappear entirely because the freedom of expression.
That was Sheon Akiyoye, Social Relations Manager, Action Aid Nigeria. Up next is sports news with Sam Kulejanko.
Has done it for Botswana, and he's done it for his mother. This talented youngster has put the African nation on top of the world.
Indeed, Letsile Tobogo made history for Botswana at the Paris 2024 Games on Thursday, winning the first Olympic gold medal for his nation in any sports. He also became the first African man to win gold in the men's 200 meters in an Olympic game. Storming to 200 meters title, he held off USA's Kenny Bednarik and 100 meter champions Noah Lyles with an African record of 19.46 seconds. This is what the new 200 meter Olympic champion said after the race.
I knew I had to match Kenny's start first. The first time when I started my training for the Olympics, we perfected the curve each and every day without fail. And when we went on the straight, when I saw I was in neck and neck with Kenny, I knew that I had the 400 meter program on my legs, so I'll just use it to finish the race.
USA's Bednarik got silver in 9.62 seconds and Lyles bronze in 19.70 seconds. On a sad note, former CAF President Issa Hayatou has passed away according to media reports. President Hayatou led CAF from 1988 to 2017 and passed on Thursday in France. The president of CAF, Dr. Patrice Motsepe, while expressing his sadness, said CAF and African football will forever be grateful to President Hayatou for his enormous, far-reaching contributions over many years to development and growth of football in Africa. President Motsepe has requested that the CAF flag and the flags of all CAF member associations fly at half-mast for a period of 5 days until 13 August 2024. And that's it for sports. It's back to you.
And that's how we end this edition of Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Mustafa Saik and Mao Jujuf for the technical assistance. Do interact with us via social media platforms, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram at WADR News, and on Facebook, WADR English Service, or simply visit Google Play Store today to download our mobile application, WADR Live. I am Abdullahi Hassan. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening.